What's up, everybody? It's Andrew from the Jaguar Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be having a discussion with the great Laurie Fitzpatrick. She is the columnist for Draft Wire. She also has an amazing podcast called Ponytails Talking Pigskins Podcast. It's really amazing. Go check it out wherever you get podcasts. But before we start, just quick shout out to one of our affiliates and partners, flteams.com. You can get great sports content there. They do great coverage of all Florida sports teams, and I put my content up there as well. It's flteams.com. Link in the video description. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on here Laurie Fitzpatrick. Laurie, what's up? How's it going?
Hey man, how's it going? Good to be back.
It's going good. Thanks for joining. What have you been up to? What's new?
So I'm actually a part of another podcast too. With Clay Harbor, who used to be a tight end on the Jags. He used to be part of the Eagles too. And I think the Bears. But it's on Believe. So Believe in Jaguars podcast. It's something that we do like every week. And it's cool to kind of talk to an ex-Jaguar, right? So he kind of brings the inside to our podcast and kind of gives us the down low. So, you could check me out on there too. Ponytails Talking Pigskins is more of like a YouTube thing now. Trying to put more videos out, but yeah, just writing for USA Today, doing the Believe podcast, and it's been a while since we last chatted.
Yeah, and who was on the Believe podcast again? Sorry, I missed that. You said there was an ex-Jaguar.
Yeah, Clay Harbor.
Okay.
He was the tight end. I think he was number 86. I think it was. Dang, when was it? Like 2008 or something.
Okay.
I'll have to pull up his stats. But yeah, Clay Harbor.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So yeah, it's been a long time since we spoke last, and Urban Meyer is no longer the coach anymore of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was a dumpster fire. I remember, I put an episode out when he was hired, and I didn't think it was going to work out. Turned out to be true, but I mean, a lot of people said that as well. What are your thoughts on the Urban Meyer firing?
Well, it was definitely needed. Are you a big college football fan? Do you watch a lot of NCAA?
Yeah, I'm a Florida fan.
Okay, so the Gators?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't really watch much college. I wasn't really knowledgeable of Urban Meyer's past. And that kind of came to bite me in the ass, as you could say.
Okay.
Because I was defending him through everything. I was like, he's a guy and maybe it's not so bad, and things happen, even though it was kind of head coaches don't do this normally, but still I was like, let's give him a chance. Maybe because he's not used to the NFL. I was just so naive, and it was definitely something that was needed. I just wish I knew more about him prior to him getting the job. So I didn't feel so dumb kind of defending him, but I guess a lot of us can feel this way right now. So yeah. I guess I'm not alone, so it doesn't make me feel as bad.
No. I mean, same here. I mean, I gave him sort of, even though I was kind of skeptical, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, well, with some of the moves that he made, thinking about it, hindsight 2020, right? Like the Tim Tebow move was ridiculous. It failed miserably. But I was like, maybe Urban knows something I don't, right? Like maybe he just knows something from his experience as a college coach, but it failed miserably. I wanted him gone after week 4 when he didn't get on the plane. That was kind of the end of it for me, and it just got worse and worse. And now we're hearing that DJ Chark. He I guess there was some article in the Atlantic where
Athletic.
or the Athletic rather, yeah, where he was like saying that Urban was being a jerk and was just very difficult to
Yeah, he made a player cry. Oh,
yeah, that's intense. But yeah, now we're picking up the pieces, right? With we got Doug Peterson, who I think is is obviously a good coach, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. You know a lot about that, being used to live in Philly, right? So you know about the Doug Peterson fandom. So I mean, I don't know. I think part of me kind of questions it. It's like, why would you want to take this job? If you're Doug Peterson, because you have Trent Baalke as the GM and just all the drama and just mess with the Jaguars. But I was just kind of curious what your thoughts were on Doug Peterson.
Well, kind of like touching on what you're questioning, right? Well, like, why would anyone want to take this job? Like, he hasn't been involved in Jacksonville as long as the fans have been. So he doesn't have that perception. He kind of sees Jacksonville as a place that, is deserving and has Trevor Lawrence. He's really the savior of the franchise. If it wasn't for Trevor, then Doug Peterson would not be here. So, but no, I think it's a great hire. I think it gives Doug a second chance because a lot of people in Philly didn't agree with letting him go. It was kind of like it was time to kind of set everything on fire. It was like when Jacksonville had to let go of Tom Coughlin because it was like, I'm not comparing the two situations, but it's like after 2017 and you get that far and then the next year you do terrible, something has to happen. You have to, implode from the inside. And Jacksonville kind of did that by getting rid of everybody. The Eagles did that by getting rid of Doug Peterson. So, but it was questionable. So I think he deserves a second chance. He kind of had a year off to kind of take a step back. I think if he didn't take a year off and he kind of like went to another place and failed and then went to Jacksonville, it would be like, one last effort, which I don't think that's the case. I think with him, it's more like a rejuvenation type of deal. And, maybe I'm being really optimistic, which, but no, honestly, I just like him as a coach. He's a player's coach, kind of like Andy Reid is, where his players have his back and, really play for him and kind of play with their heart. For Urban, it was like, all right, we're going to trust this guy because he seems like, he's a college like coach phenomenon, kind of like he's been successful in all these colleges. And it's like Jacksonville was a young team, so they were like not in all of Urban, but like, all right, we can believe in him even though he's kind of an asshole. With Peterson, it's more like, dang, this guy's proven in the NFL and he knows what he's doing. A lot of players love him and like stand by him to this day. So I really love it, to be honest. Mostly, and not a lot of Jacksonville fans like Philly. I mean, who likes Philly besides people in Philly? But because I'm like from South Jersey and I grew up like my whole family were Eagles fans, these two franchises kind of like fusing together in a way by Doug Peterson, it makes me feel so warm inside. Like it makes me really happy. And not a lot of people like that, especially in Jacksonville. They're like, who likes the Eagles? Nobody likes Philly. But to be honest, it makes me feel really good. Because I think Jacksonville has been missing that heart that like players will come here for money, and they even say that now. But I think they deserve more of like players want to come here because of like they want to have a chance to win. And I think Jacksonville deserves to have that again. From the old Fred Taylor days and Keenan McCardell and all those guys. And I think it needs to kind of get back to that. I think Doug can kind of bring that to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think he's a good culture guy. I mean, like you said, players coach. I think he's going to instill a good system there. I mean, I think I just have some questions about how all the pieces kind of play together, especially with like James Robinson and him just not having that good second year with Urban and Urban kind of benching him and all that nonsense. So, I mean, I never really thought of Doug as being like a running, like him running, the Eagles is like a running team, right? So I don't know how like James Robinson kind of fits into that whole picture and ETN and like the style of offense they're going to run. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, how they use Trevor Lawrence, and are they going to run that West Coast style of offense, or I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I'm just interested to see that, especially with the new free agent acquisitions. Hopefully they utilize James. That's what I hope.
Yeah, man. Like if you know what you should do? Go back and watch that Super Bowl game, and he really goes with the hot hand. To be honest, like when I think it was Jay Ajayi that was there, um, or LeGarrette Blunt, those guys. He fed them the ball when they were doing well, and then he kind of took it away. And the only thing that I think fans are going to be maybe like upset about sometimes, or maybe the fourth down, going for it on fourth down, he is really aggressive. Um, but that's having faith in your players. So the Jaguar fans have to have faith in their players too, and in their coach to not get so upset when he decides to do that. But yeah, he's gonna definitely bring in a West Coast type of offense, an RPO type of thing, and I think that fits Trevor well. To be honest, I do like him outside the pocket though. Last year when he kind of rolled out, and
Yeah, the
then
bootlegs, like the
yeah,
current
man,
bootlegs, and yeah, he can do that role. He's got that speed and he can throw well, while running. We definitely saw it in the Colts game. I mean, he made some amazing throws in that game. So I think, yeah, if they kind of utilize him with, like you said, the RPO, run those bootlegs and let him make those throws. We have NFL AZ Cardinals here in the chat saying Christian Kirk was another good pickup. He has room to grow. So,
yeah,
um, that being said, let's jump into the free agency acquisitions by the Jaguars. Tons of them. The biggest probably being Christian Kirk, like NFL Arizona Cardinals said. So he's given a huge deal. $72 million deal, 37 million, fully guaranteed, 20 million signing bonus. And then I think he has like $3 million of incentives each year. This one I'm up in the air about. I think it has potential. Christian Kirk, I think he has a lot to prove. And I think I don't know if he's a number one guy. I mean, I just don't know yet. And I feel like with the Jaguars, they picked up a lot of journeyman kind of wide receivers. Um, Kirk, I mean, and the wide receiver room is just so crowded too, right? Like, how does Laviska Shenault fit into this picture? Is he even going to be on the team, right? I mean, who knows? But I don't know. I don't know if Kirk is a number one guy. What are your thoughts?
it's tough. I think the number one guy nowadays is a little is is kind of like set in stone. Like he has to be lined up here. Like he has to be lined up, on the left side of the field, like in isolation. Sometimes that's like the Z. But like I think he's an X that can kind of move everywhere. Um, and like the Cardinals guy is saying down here, I mean, I think he has a lot. Like he has a lot to give, and still has a lot to prove. People forget how many wide receivers Arizona had.
Yeah.
Like that was a full locker room of wide receivers, and he got 900 yards last year. Um, and if you look at those yards over the last 4 years, he's trending up each time. And so when he was kind of filled like in a room with all wide receivers, and he was still increasing his receiving yards each year. Uh, I mean, I think it's great. And I think he needs to have a chance to prove that he can be the number one guy. But we also can't forget the how deep this draft is for wide receivers too. So I'm not trying to like take it away from the free agent signings or anything, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of guys available in the draft that could potentially be the number one um, in, if not the rookie year, then definitely year two. Like if you look at Devonta Smith, he's a skinny guy, and even the Eagles fans were kind of not sure if he could be the X receiver because of how small he was. But like look at T.Y. Hilton, look at like Larry Fitzgerald. Those guys are small, but they're runner kings. And so they're able to kind of get open and separate. And that's really the most important thing. If you can separate from the defender, then you can be the number one receiver because you're going to get the ball if you're open. And that's inevitable. So you're definitely going to get it. Just nobody could get any separation over the last like 2 years. Like DJ Chark wasn't really getting much separation on the sideline. LaVisca was barely doing it. He had like 2 highlights where he got really good yards after the catch. Like that one where he somehow like was like a bowling ball around the field going from sideline to sideline. I remember that one highlight. But like outside of that, it wasn't even happening that much. He had guys like 4 guys on his back and he was gaining 4 yards somehow and falling forward. But they need guys that can really separate themselves in terms of like route running. So I think Kirk is a guy to be able to do that. He's fast, he's tall, he gets the separation. He can get downfield. And then, you have Marvin Jones still. So, I think it was a good piece to the puzzle. Because you're not going to get Chris Godwin. You're not going to get Jamal Adams,
Yeah.
Even though he went to the Raiders, he chose where he wanted to go. The Jaguars never had a chance. So,
Yeah.
like, who else was really available that was like Kirk was number 3? He was that third guy. And so they did the best that they could. What else do you expect? The contract, I don't even care about because that's Shad's money,
Yeah.
and people are complaining like they don't know how free agency works in Jacksonville. Like they have amnesia and forget. Like, do you know how much they overpaid for Calais Campbell and then he became the mayor and they went to the AFC Championship? Were they talking about his contract then? No, they weren't.
No. I just wish they had restructured him and kept him on the team, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I agree. The thing is, like, I just don't know how all the pieces fit in because you have Laquan Treadwell, he got resigned. Then you have Chenault, and I don't know. I honestly would deal him, I think, for some draft picks.
Man,
Maybe.
are you afraid that if he goes somewhere and he just goes off? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, in typical Jaguars fashion, right? I mean, he couldn't catch a football last season barely. I mean,
Couldn't catch a cold, we used to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was, and I don't know either, like, was it the offensive scheme too? Sometimes, I mean, I know dropping passes that you can't, that's not excusable, but I feel like they didn't utilize him much either. I mean, I feel like he can be that X factor if you put him into the right system. If maybe you utilize him in some of those jet sweep plays, and you could kind of utilize him in that kind of Debo Samuel type of way where you let him, carry the ball. Because he is a bruiser. I mean, he can take a couple hits and, like you said, carry some people downfield. I mean, his yards after the catch are nice. I mean, you can't take him down. He's a real physical guy.
When
So I
they
hate to
happen,
see him
yeah.
leave, but it's like, I honestly, if we need a number one guy, I would consider trading him in the draft, like for some draft picks or something. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
Yeah. I think honestly, I think they should try to move up. I would say, trade away maybe the 3rd and 4th to get back into the first round. I mean, the Eagles have like 3 or 4 first round picks. I think there are a couple other teams that have 1 or 2 first round picks. But there are a good handful of teams that don't have any first round picks. So I know that other teams are going to try to get into the first round as well. And it's like, do the Jaguars have enough to give up?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be tough, but they definitely need an outstanding wide receiver. They need to draft him. They need to. I'm hoping that they get Drake London, but he's probably not going to be available. But there were a couple other pretty good guys. The guy from Georgia, Pickens.
Everybody is like obsessing about him. Like, why is everybody so high on this guy? Like I don't. I've watched some film. He's got good hands. He's fast, but he's kind of a hothead, right? Like, I just don't understand why people are just going crazy about him.
Yeah, that's what happens. Honestly, I think it's because he's from Georgia too. I mean, everybody from Georgia right now is getting just elevated to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but there are plenty of guys that are out there in the draft that, I mean, look at what's his name from Notre Dame? North Dakota, Christian Watson. He has a chance to kind of get there. He's like an under the radar type of guy. Some draft boards have him at like 15, like the 15th best. And there are so many, offensive linemen, DNs that are in the draft right now where he might drop and they could get him early, maybe like in the second round or something. So
NFL AZ Cardinal says Pickens got that swag and confidence you want from a wide receiver. Reminds me of DeAndre Hopkins. Okay.
wow.
All right. That's
you're on board then, huh?
Yeah, he seems like he's really on board. So I think, at wide receiver is a need, I think, for the number one guy, to fit in for Jacksonville. But I also think linebacker, that's going to be a need at the weak side because we lost, Miles Jack.
Damian Wilson.
Yeah, so
I really like Damian. I really liked him a lot.
Yeah.
But, how would you feel about Rashad Evans? I mean, I don't mind him.
And I'm sorry, he was Rashad Evans. He's at I'm drawing a blank.
Tennessee Titans. He went on a visit to the Eagles. To the Eagles, to the Jaguars.
I did see
just the other day.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'd kind of be open. I'd be open to it. I mean,
He's a Titan. So.
Yeah, that is kind of like kryptonite for me. But yeah, I like Nakobe Dean from Georgia. Back to Georgia again. I think he reminds me. He reminds me a lot of like Miles Jack, kind of the plays that he made. He flies at the ball. And I think that he would be a great, backfill at that spot. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the linebacker spot's a big question. I mean, we were talking about free agency and we picked up what's his name, Foye Oluokun from Atlanta. So he's gonna be the Mike linebacker, but it's unknown who's going to be the weak side linebacker. I'd like to see Nakobe Dean in a Jaguars uniform because I think he would just tear it up. I mean, I think he'd be perfect in that spot. But the problem is they say he's going to go probably, in the first round around like between 10 and 15. So how do we swing that, right? If we have just number one and the 33rd pick. So, we might have to make some trades. I don't know. Maybe we trade Chenault and Robinson.
James Robinson?
No, not Robinson. Cam Robinson.
Oh, Cam. Yeah. Cam.
Tag and trade for. Yeah. There's some other teams that need left tackles. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't know what you think about that, but.
No, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. Right now it's kind of crazy because you don't know which direction they're going to go. As of right now and how the roster looks, I'd say, Walker Little plays right tackle. Cam plays left, he stays where he's at, and they don't draft a tackle. They go, you know, rusher. But I think they should trade down and get Jermaine Johnson the second and get another first round pick, grab a linebacker, and then they have that 33rd, and then they go wide receiver. That's what I really think they should do. I wouldn't even be mad if they got Kyle Hamilton as their first round draft pick. That
Okay.
would be awesome. But they
So you're,
definitely need an edge rusher.
okay. So you were saying at linebacker, you're saying go linebacker, go edge rusher, and then go wide receiver. Is that what you're saying? Or
No. So, I no, I would probably go edge rusher. James, wait, what's his name? Jermaine Johnson. He's an edge rusher from I think FSU.
okay.
Um, I wouldn't mind them getting him first. Because I just like him on film better than Hutchinson. Um, I think, um, I think he like just looks better on film. To be honest, he's more of a pass rusher. Hutchinson is a really good like run stopper, and I mean he's good at like he's he's good at like bull rushing, but you're not gonna like bull rush NFL guys, you
Yeah,
know?
you're gonna bull rush a top, left tackle. I mean,
Yeah,
they're used to that. It's more you need a skilled guy who's can use rip moves and spin moves and
yeah,
has
and
the technique. And I don't feel like Hutchinson has that. Especially after
no,
that Georgia game. I mean, he was just a non-factor in that game. I mean, they completely shut him down.
yeah, I saw a couple plays where he was getting dominated by a tight end,
Yeah, that's not good.
and I
That
was
is
just
not good.
like, how is this gonna work? So I don't know. I'd say unless they're gonna go offensive tackle, um, don't don't use that number one. I'd say trade down to like 4 or whatever. Whoever wants to go up and get Malik, maybe the Steelers kind of want to go up there, or maybe even the Lions want to go one spot and go to number one. All right, what are your other picks? Or, maybe there can be, something from other teams, but I think they should trade back um, and get Jermaine Johnson. Um, I obviously wouldn't be mad about the tackle, but I just think they should get a more dominant edge rusher. I just don't know if Hutchinson is it.
Yeah. I mean, I like Evan Neal. I just at left tackle, I he's gonna go number one supposedly. And I don't know, with Jacksonville just like skipping over a left tackle again for like the second draft in a row, it doesn't make me sit right. I mean, then you have Walker Little, and how does he fit into the picture? He's kind of the swing tackle. I think he will end up playing right tackle, like you said. And
But then what do you do with Cam if you have Evan Neal? You just have him sit for a year?
yeah, that's my thing. I don't
Okay.
think you do that, right? Like I think
Yeah.
if you go for Evan Neal, I think Cam Robinson's getting traded. Like you're trading him in the draft for
Oh, you're
somebody.
using him. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I mean, they tagged him last year, and I'm surprised. I mean, he actually had a better year last season, as opposed to the after the 2020 season. But yeah, I mean, I could see them. I could see it possibly happening. Some people call me crazy. They're like, "Oh no, we're not. That's a pipe dream." But I mean, why not? I mean, Cam Robinson's a decent left tackle, right? I mean, and we also
He
have
is.
Will Richardson over at the right who could play left and right tackle. So I mean, I don't know. We have options. I'd hate to miss on Evan Neal and then he becomes like a great left tackle and then we're in this position again next year, right? I mean,
Well, on that other podcast, the guy Connor Miles, he's like a pretty big Eagles fan, right? And like obviously I lived in Philly when Doug was there. But I was always following the Jaguars a little bit more. Um and Connor and um Clay. They're both saying that Doug is 100% going to draft a tackle. Like, they just
Oh,
know
really?
Doug Peterson. And that's exactly what he wants. He's going to protect his quarterback. That's what he's going to do. Like, I'm pretty sure he picked up Jason Peters, which
Okay.
ended up being like a Pro Bowler, and he was like one of the most dominant left tackles. And when they went to the Super Bowl, like 2015 to 2017, they had like top 5 offensive line in the league. And Doug just believes that that's how you win a championship, is going through the offensive line. So he used to be a quarterback, so I think he values the offensive line more than more than anybody. So I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of do what you're saying. They use Cam to kind of maybe get an extra first or second round pick. It'll probably be second, so they can kind of get more guys. But Evan Neal is probably going to be that guy. So
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're going for a first round, like if they're going after a first round pick, I think it's going to be Cam plus something else. But we'll see what happens. NFL AZ Cardinals. What are your thoughts on ETN and Robinson together? Could it be a double-headed monster? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on ETN just right now with the Liz Frank injury. He could bounce back, and it could be a two-headed monster. I mean, I kind of see ETN being that receivers back. You kind of like TJ Yeldon back in 2018 where we had that little run to the AFC Championship. I don't see him being a three down back. I think Robinson's going to be the bruiser there. He's going to be getting the carries, and ETN kind of comes in on those different third down plays or passing plays. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Laurie?
So I know that Doug Peterson will definitely run some 2-back sets. They'll have James Robinson as like a 3-down back, and you'll have ETN run a flat, fake screen to ETN and throw it to Dan Arnold or Evan Ingram up the seam.
Yeah.
So like that's definitely 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, 1 receiver out wide, Marvin Jones or Christian Kirk, to kind of be that outside guy to kind of spread the defense a little bit.
Yeah.
And I could see, a fake handoff to the middle. Because they did that with Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles from the Saints, he was on the Eagles. They had him and another back in the backfield. The 2-back set, each guy runs out, fake screen one way, fake screen the other way, and then they throw it up to the tight end up the seam. So that's definitely something that they did. I think even in the Super Bowl too, they used like Zach Ertz a lot for that. So I mean, I could see them two working together. I think it would be cool. I think ETN deserves a shot. I wasn't super happy with the pick last year when they did that.
Me neither.
I was totally shocked. I was just like, I was in like a live stream with like Mina Kimes. It was like one of the most awesome moments of my life. And I was freaking pissed. I was like, I was so mad. So I was just, and they were like, how do you feel? And they like switched to me and I was just like, what are they doing? Like,
Yeah. I was shocked too because I was like, we need a left tackle. We need a lot of things, but I was not thinking we would be drafting a running back in the first round, didn't we? And then that happening right after we cut Leonard Fournette, which didn't really sit right with me. But back to what you were saying about ETN, I mean, I could see that. I don't know if you remember when DiFilippo was here as our offensive coordinator. You saw Fournette getting a lot of like targets, out in the flats and being that receivers type back, right? Like he had like 500 yards in receiving that year. I saw him. There were even plays where he was lining up in the slot, and I can totally see that with ETN. Like,
well, and DiFilippo was the offensive coordinator in the Super Bowl with Doug Peterson.
yeah, exactly.
That's
So
definitely going to happen. Like,
yeah.
he kind of took, like, all you have to do is, I know that the Super Bowl was won with Nick Foles, but if you go through the season and watch Carson Wentz, I'm not saying him and Trevor Lawrence are like similar players, but they both use their legs and they can use their legs. Wentz kind of scrambles a little bit more like he's like on crack or something, but um I mean, you could kind of see how Doug used him in that RPO, in those bootlegs, him running outside the pocket, like evading defenders. And where was his running backs? They were running out wide, kind of waiting for that check down. So, if anybody has the time, watch that season. I think Carson Wentz went like 11-4 or 11-3 or something, and then Nick Foles came in to kind of take over. But during that season, yeah, they were running those running backs in the flat and stuff. And so I think there's a good chance that Doug kind of took a little bit of what DeFilippo was doing at that time, and I think there's going to be a little bit of a conversion there. I could totally see that.
Okay. Okay. And then, we're jumping around a little bit here, but you had mentioned Evan Ingram, tight end that we acquired from the Giants. And I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on the tight ends, like, how do you see Ingram? I mean, how do you see this tight end squad kind of being this year? Because, we don't have Holster anymore. We have Dan Arnold, who we picked up, from the Panthers in that CJ Henderson trade. But, we really didn't. I thought we were going to try to go after Ertz, maybe, since the Doug Peterson Ertz relationship.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. And then we got Ingram. I don't know. To me, it's kind of still a journeyman kind of tight end room. But I was curious, what your thoughts were on the tight end group.
Well, I mean, it's all up to Evan Ingram, I think. The best thing that he could have done was what he said in the press conference, that he only wanted a 1-year deal, and that was so he could prove himself to then get a long deal, or a long-term deal, in the future. And that just like made me feel really good, like in terms of this guy catching the ball, because there was actually a couple games where, I think there was one game, I don't know if it was against the Saints or if it was actually against the Eagles, where the pass hit his hands, it bounced off his hands, got intercepted, and the other team got a pick six to win the game because of his drop. And so it was just like, this guy, like, so I think him wanting to prove himself is a really big deal. Instead of him just saying like, all right, I'm just gonna, kind of ride this wave. I'm in the country club. I'm in Jacksonville. They paid me this money, and I'm just gonna chill. No, I think he really wants to prove that he has what it takes. And that's the best thing he could have done. And he's gonna be more of the receiver tight end. I really do like Dan Arnold though too. I sneakily liked him like a lot last year. I think he did pretty well. They'll probably go after someone, but I'm not sure. Like, I think it's all up to Evan Ingram, how he kind of does in this system. Maybe he'll be I think he'll be the starter. Him and Dan Arnold as that 1-2 package. That 12 personnel, like both of them on each side of the line. Maybe Ingram in the slot at sometimes at points. But yeah, he's going to be that pass catching tight end, just like, Zach Ertz was. I think a lot of people wanted a better guy like Zach Ertz, like you're saying, but he wasn't going to move. Yeah. Like Cardinals is saying down there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to chill right now. And Doug EP is a factor, but he'll have to work like twice as hard. And I think, AZ Cardinals is kind of right. He probably wants to chill, probably right out of his career. He doesn't want to have to like start over and be the contributing factor to a team winning. Maybe he's just trying to, get his money.
Yeah. Yeah, Ertz is getting up there in age, too. So I think he's probably looking to, you know, chill out and, like you said, not having to go in and be the lead guy and
Yeah.
have to compete as well with a bunch of other tight ends. I mean, it's an interesting tight end room. I mean, Luke Farrell, guy we drafted at Ohio State, I don't know where he fits in this whole picture either. I mean, you know, maybe he'll just be a blocking tight end. I don't know, or
Yeah.
that kind of situation. We didn't see much from him last year. Um, so we'll see what happens. But I just wish we had, I don't know, I wish we had upgraded a little bit there. Maybe got that number one tight end. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe Ingram steps up, like you said, and he's that guy who gets, an extension after next season. But maybe we go to the draft. Do you see any, potential targets in the draft at tight end? Or
I mean, that room is not really, it's not too deep. And so you'll probably just like, I think there's like one guy like Thornton or somebody, I'm not even like remembering his name. But no, I mean, there's not a ton of options. I have like a little sheet here that kind of has all these. So yeah. Oh, okay. Trey McBride. He's the Jelani Woods from Virginia. Um, yeah, Jake
yeah,
Ferguson.
I heard good things about Jelani Williams.
Yeah. Oh, who? Oh, Jelani Woods. Yeah, yeah, I
Jelani
have
Woods,
two.
right?
Obviously Trey McBride is like the main guy. Connor Hayward, isn't his brother? I think his brother is Casey Hayward.
Okay.
Like the offensive lineman, I think it is. People can correct me, but
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if they draft Jaguars. I definitely think they're backfilling, some of those O-line positions. I can see maybe us drafting a center, maybe a, guard as well, because I don't know how they are with Ben Barch. I mean, he did okay, I think, for his like first year starting. Um, but with Sheriff is just I like that signing in free agency. I think he's so much more athletic than Norwell. He gets to the second level, he can pull, but the problem is he hasn't played a full season. I think since like 2016, so he's hurt a lot.
mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to need to find somebody who could play guard that's going to backfill him. When he starts getting up there and can't play much. So I see them maybe drafting at guard, drafting at center. I like Shatley. I don't think there were some rumors about Lindner. I don't know if you heard that about him retiring.
Oh, retiring.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know if
Oh
there's
wow.
any truth to that at all, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if they released him, just because again he can't stay healthy and he's getting paid a lot of money. So I'd rather just go with Shatley and then draft a center. I don't know what your thoughts are on that though.
I mean, yeah, like the last 2 years, he only played 9 games. Um, you know, he had basically 1 year or 2 years in his entire career where he played um, the
Like a
full
full
amount of games.
season, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was. Oh no, yeah. In 2014, he played 15 games. There was still a 17 uh, game season. I think 17 weeks at that point,
Yeah.
or six. Damn, so many. It's all changing now, but yeah, I don't think he's only played one full season, 2019. So, but I love him, man.
A lot of people like Lindner. They think
He
he
can move.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I
I
think
guess that's why
he's
he gets hurt.
yeah, yeah. I like Shatley just because he's definitely the cheaper option, and he could play guard too. I know Lindner can play guard, but too as well. But I think Lindner is excuse me, Shatley has just been more reliable. So I'd rather just go with him because he can play a full season and he doesn't cost that much. So
Yeah, but going what you were saying though, they're definitely gonna get like a guard and a center. Like they have to in the draft. And the O line is so deep in this draft that they're definitely gonna grab, probably maybe maybe a center before a guard. But
Yeah.
I think they're definitely gonna get at least two. They
Okay.
should.
Yeah. So in free agency, we picked up Darius Williams, corner out of LA. I like
Yep.
I like the signing. I like it because we need help in the secondary, like badly. I like Tyson Campbell. I think he really turned it around the second half of the season. Played well, showed that he's got some talent and that he can make adjustments. The one I think the weak link on the in the secondary to me is Shaq Griffin. I just think he's not a number one corner.
He's kind of slow, man.
Yeah, he bobbles interceptions. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think he's the number one guy. So I think Williams being able to play both slot and I think he can play dime or nickel, whatever. I think that he could be like that kind of dynamic, versatile corner that we need. But I was kind of curious on what your thoughts were on the signing.
Oh man, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think eventually, if Shaq, I got some wood on me. If anything happens to him and Darius steps in, I don't think Shaq's gonna play outside again.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's Shaq's spot right now. But I don't know if he's gonna keep it if anything happens to him. But yeah, I think he's a dog, man. He jumps routes like crazy, and that's what, the Jags need that so bad. They need a guy to kind of grab it interceptions. Not even like Jalen Ramsey had a ton of interceptions.
Yeah.
The last guy was like Reggie Nelson, that was really like grabbing stuff. But no, I think I think Tyson is gonna be, he's evolving into to be like a stud. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna be really good. Remember when he lined up in the corner and he was terrible? We were like, dude, this guy's a bust, man.
Yeah, he was getting smoked in the first half of the season. I mean, it was tough to watch. But he made some adjustments, and I think he's going to be potentially a good player. And who knows? I mean, Darius Williams, maybe he's the guy that he's kind of the third piece of that puzzle, and maybe if they decide to part ways with Shaq, they draft somebody else who's like the number one slot, or maybe they move him to the slot corner spot while the new draft pick develops. But yeah, I like the signing a lot. Definitely going to help us in the secondary because we had a lot of problems there last season.
Yeah, I wrote a whole thing. So for the USA Today on the touchdown wire, I I went down all the players, and my favorite player to watch on film was Darius Williams. I posted a couple clips in the article of just like him jumping routes, him just like coming out of nowhere, and you think it's a sure touchdown catch, and he gets it. There is this one where he like stretches all the way out in the corner of the end zone and like grabs this pass. And imagine if the Jags had him in 2017 when they threw that touchdown pass over, I think it was Trey Herndon. That like reached all the way out to get it, and it went like right over his hand. I don't know if you remember that, but
what game was that?
I think it was the Tampa Bay, or it was against Tom Brady, whichever team that was, the Patriots.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like one of the last plays to kind of like seal the deal, and they throw it like right over like the fingertips of his hands. And when I saw that picture of Darius Williams, I'll make sure when we this is live, but when I like retweet it, I'll get that clip, I'll get that video and show if the Jaguars only had that guy, man.
Yeah.
But
exactly. So NFL AZ Cardinals, I heard good things with Cisco at safety. Is this true? Yes, it is true. Cisco was not getting a lot of playing time in the beginning of last season. And then, I don't know, the defensive backs coach probably told Urban he was an idiot and he needed to start playing him. But Cisco did show a lot of promise and was making some plays towards the second half of the season. So I think he'll be, in the safety spot. To me, I don't see Jenkins really having a role after last season. I mean, to me, I would just do Cisco and Thomas. Those would be my safeties, but I don't know what your thoughts are, Laurie, but Cisco and Thomas, it just seems like unless they go and draft somebody that's like a stud, I see those two being the starters.
Jenkins got so mad at me on Twitter. He tried like calling me out because I told him that he took like a bad angle on his play. And I was like, what is Jenkins doing? And he was basically trying to say that it wasn't his responsibility, but your responsibility is the ball. So, and he was like, oh, like you shouldn't do these videos anymore. I was like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Because I called you out because you missed an assignment, or maybe you didn't miss an assignment, but you didn't help. So he kind of got mad at me about that, but I don't know. So I feel a little type of way against Jenkins.
Yeah. He's just being a little salty. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, damn, maybe I shouldn't do this. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no. So I don't want to like say any bad things about him. I'm not trying to get canceled. You know what I mean? So no, but I see them kind of do. That's what I'm saying. If they brought in Kyle Hamilton, that would be so sick. But I think they signed Jenkins to like a multi-year deal or something, and they would have like a ton of dead cap or something if they were to like let him go, which teams do that all the time. Maybe they won't let him go and they'll just
rotate him.
Yeah. I just don't know if he is gonna be the guy to help. I think Cisco should really get a chance. And yeah, I think training camp we're really gonna know.
Yeah.
We're really gonna know. So, like I said, I'm not trying to say any bad things about Rayshon Jenkins, but
I hear you. So we were talking a lot about free agency. I'm kind of curious what your overall grade is. Mine for free agency is a B-. What's yours?
I'm gonna go with a solid B. And that's because free agents have a choice. I think they could go after guys and offer them all of this. They can offer them houses, but they have a choice to take it or not. So I think they I think they may have done the best that they could. There were some trades that went down that were a little like, dang, what are these guys doing? Like, I think, who was it that got traded for like a third round pick? I think it was like one of the tackles. But you never know what their plan is. Maybe their plan is to go, with Evan Neal, and they don't need to get a tackle in free agency. So I'm going to give them a B because I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I like the Foye signing a lot. I think he's really, really good. I wasn't like a huge Miles Jack fan, and I say that on like every single podcast because I want people to know. I don't know. There's just something about him where he tackles so high. At one point, he was like on a guy's shoulders and he was giving him a piggyback ride while the guy ran out of bounds, and Miles Jack was like on his back. It was like, have you ever heard of bending your knees and tackling a guy low? Like you might be able to take him down. Shoelace tackles, they actually happen. You could do that. So like sometimes it was just pissed me off with like him on the field. Yeah, he's an athletic freak when it comes to getting sideline to sideline. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I like Foye better. He had twice as many tackles as Miles Jack. And it doesn't matter that he had the most tackles on the team. That means the team is not tackling well. Like,
yeah.
So I really like the Foye signing.
Yeah, me too. I always catch a lot of flack about my Miles Jack kind of, I don't want to call it hating, but it's like, he's just, to me, he's an overrated player. He's getting paid a pile of money. He was making tackles 10 yards downfield. Like you said, he was piggybacking on, offensive players' backs. I don't think he was much better than Schobert. I think, so, I mean, I just don't see why he gets, it's just that one play, right? In the
because he works hard. because he's a hard worker and he has a lot of heart. And it's one thing that you can't take away from him. He tries really hard. So it's like you're not going to win because of him.
Yeah.
But you'll win in spite of him, and he'll help take you there, but he's not going to be this like superstar that deserves that 5th year extension. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why that happened, but it's just because like they Jaguars don't have a lot of players like him that were so like just into the city of Jacksonville. They wanted to like just be here. They wanted to work hard. And I mean, he needed to kind of get in the weight room a little bit more. But besides that, like he was, he studied the game. Just he was kind of small. He got blocked out of a lot of plays.
Yeah.
He got himself blocked out of like a lot of plays. That's why I like Damian Wilson so much, because he was able to penetrate that line of scrimmage and kind of get more tackles for loss.
Yeah.
Miles Jack was kind of
He could
yeah,
shed
yeah,
blocks, Well, Miles
yeah,
Jack was always getting, and it doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you're making tackles 10 yards downfield. They're still getting first downs. They're still moving the chains. It doesn't help the football team in the long
yeah,
run. So,
yeah,
yeah, I hear you. I caught a lot of flack there from other Jags fans because they're like, oh, the Miles Jack, he wasn't down and all that. And yeah, that was great like 4 years ago. But
yeah,
now
yeah. I mean,
now
and
is
they
now.
lost the game,
Yeah.
and if like you watch it, like maybe he was, like it's so tough. I mean, I don't know. I think the refs played a huge part in that. Like the Jaguars definitely deserve that win.
We
But at
caught
the
a lot of
same
bad
time,
breaks.
yeah, like you can't dwell on something. You can't dwell on like a loss like that, for 5 years. It's 2022 now. Just
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just back to Foyer. I really like him as a sign. The free agent signing. I like the inside defensive tackle. I think he was a really good signing from the Jets. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his
Foley
name.
Fatukazi, I think.
Yeah, we have Foyer and Foley. So
Yeah.
I like him too. He's a good rotational depth guy. Him with Devon Hamilton, they're going to be two really good guys. I was hoping they were going to get an edge rusher. If they got an edge rusher that was a stud, like I'm not saying like Von Miller, but like somebody a big name like him, I would have given them an A.
What about Chandler Jones? Were you on that train or?
Yeah,
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 I was on
he's
the
good.
Chandler Jones train. I would have liked to have him, but I guess where did he go? Did he go to the where did he go? Did he go to the Raiders?
Let me look it up because there's like so many signings. Yeah, Raiders.
Yeah. So we need help on the edge. I mean, I like Josh Allen, but I mean, for a lot of games, he was just you didn't see him out there. I mean, he's like just sleeping because
Well, like they changed, from 3-4 to or from 4-3 to 3-4. So he was kind of standing up now, and I think he does a lot better with it with his hands in the dirt. He can kind of get more like leverage, I guess, and I think it's just a little bit easier for him working out of a 4-3. So he was dropping back for a lot of plays, a lot of snaps. He was kind of dropping back into coverage. He did get an interception. He got forced fumble, interception, and that was all towards the end of the season. So I think he's kind of getting used to that 3-4. But he does better when he has another stud on the other side of the field. I think he's good. He's good for me. I love him. I don't ever want him to move. I think if you get a stud on the other side, maybe someone at his caliber or better, that you can't get anyone worse. Then he will flourish because they won't be able to stop all of them. So I think he just needs another guy in order to do better.
What's up, Jersey Jaguar in the chat? He says the fact that the Jags didn't address pass rush and free agency points to Hutch at number 1. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good point. I'm not a big Hutchison guy. Who knows? I mean, who knows? He may just, he may have an explosive first rookie season, and and start picking it up, right? I mean, no one really knows. I mean, I think, Kayvon, Kayvon Thibodeau. He's got, I know I butchered his name
I'll
there.
just call him Thibs, right?
Thibs, I feel like has better technique than Hutchison. And like you said, Laurie, he's more of like a bull rusher and a hustle guy. So I don't know. I think I mean there are some other options than later in the draft.
Yeah,
There's that
man,
guy.
Jermaine Johnson. I'm telling you, he is like they should get him. Like I don't know what it is, but like I am not. I liked Hutch in the beginning, like while he was playing in the season. Um, like while he was there, and everybody was kind of looking at him. Oh my God, he's a riser, and yeah, I was totally on board. But when I found out who James Johnson was, Jermaine Johnson, I was just like, dude, I want him. I want him. I wouldn't be upset about Hutch because imagine if you don't pick him and another team gets him and he just goes off. Jaguars will be the laughing stock of the league, dude.
So there's another guy I was looking at. He's at Penn State. He's from Arnold. I can't even say his last name. Arnold Ebikitty, I think. Ebikitty, is that it? Arnold Ebikitty out of Penn State. He's an edge rusher.
Ebikitty, I don't know.
Yeah, I know I'm butchering that, but he could be another guy the Jags target as opposed to going, at the number one. Going with Hutch at number one. So, I mean, there are options. I get I'm a little ambivalent or a little reluctant rather to take Hutchison at number one. Just after that Georgia game. I mean, that Georgia game, he just, when he went up against an elite, SEC offensive line and he got shut out that game. I mean, I don't know. To me, I don't see the translation, how that translates to the NFL, but maybe I'm going out on a limb there.
I mean, the Georgia offensive line is absolutely ridiculous, but at the same time, like, that's what you're going to see in the NFL. I think most of those guys, though, are going to be all pros. And you're not seeing all pros every week. You're just not. You're not. So there's that. But at the same time, like, the number one pick should at least have an edge, like at least half the snaps against all pros, because you're supposed to be an all pro too. You're going to go number one, right? Number one. You should be able to at least compete. And you're right, he was just shut out. And I was watching a game against like their last couple games against Penn State, and that's when he got like blocked really bad by a tight end, and it just looked so easy.
Yeah.
So just like maybe I'm like, this is only like my first or second year where I'm really diving deep into draft picks. And I'm really getting a chance to see the guys that I was watching 2 years ago and how they develop in the NFL in terms of like the difference between what you see on like draft night compared to, how they elevate their game. And so like I'm hoping that I'm not wrong about Hutchison, but like I think I'm kind of seeing what a lot of other people are seeing, that like he's not dominating. And so everything else is kind of like, well, how much better can you get if you're not dominating now? Like, oh, you can get in the weight room and suddenly be better. Like maybe that is the case. So that's what scares me,
Yeah. No, I hear you. And it's like, I just don't want Hutchison to be like another Caleb on Chason, right? Like Chason was kind of hyped up.
Or our boy Tavin.
Yeah, or Taven Bryan, right? Like, I mean, so we'll see what happens there. But I hear you. I'm just very hesitant to draft him at number one. NFL AZ Cardinals says DL defensive end sounds like a bit of a reach for the first pick of the draft. Well, yeah, I agree. And Laurie had made a great point there with Doug Peterson and going for offensive linemen. What's it, Clay from the Leave podcast said, right? Like Doug will go with a lineman likely. So I hope that's the case. I hope we protect Trevor. We have Andrew Mandarakis. I hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. They need to protect their quarterback, and I agree. that is a great point. And hopefully we find somebody in the draft, or I don't know if we go with Cam. Hopefully he has a good year.
Yeah,
But
man. I mean, let him sit for, let Evan Neal sit for maybe a year, kind of learn. But that's terrible. You really want to throw him in there. But they did make a great point. Clay Harbor said that Doug actually had, I don't know if it was Jason Peters. They've actually put him on the right side of the line for a year. And then when their left tackle kind of, he went on to either retire or move, they actually moved him to the left side. So it's something that you don't want to do because it's like writing with your left hand and then switching to your right hand. It's
yeah,
not easy. Like your first instincts, you kind of go like that when you're the left tackle as opposed to go like that when you're a right tackle. But if you're good enough, maybe you'll do what it takes. I know Walker Little said that he will. His dad said that on Twitter. His
yeah,
dad was like, yeah, he'll
that was
play
going off.
anywhere. He's the best, but we'll play anywhere. Like, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. I got into kind of a debate with Ship over this, John Shipley,
Yeah.
About how hard is it for a left tackle to move to right side and vice versa. And I mean, it's hard. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
A lot of tackles have done it. I mean, Penei Sewell, he did it. Orlando Brown Jr. has done it. I mean, they're and I'm sure there's more I'm missing there, but it's not impossible. So, I mean, if that has to happen, I'm sure it'll be feasible. But
Yeah.
well, Laurie, I think we're kind of nearing time to wrap up, but I appreciate you having you on the show and the insight, especially on the draft, because I haven't gotten a lot of time to dive deep into the draft. So it was awesome hearing, your insight on it, and some really great stuff there as well.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me. We should kind of eliminate the amount of time the next time I'm on, cause yeah, I like to talk football. So
Yeah, awesome. And do you have anything else going on? Any new podcasts you're going to put out, or anything kind of going on in your world?
well, I mean, I'm writing a lot for the NFL touchdown wire on USA Today. So, I'm trying to pump out as many articles as I can. I'm doing free agency right now, but I'm going to put out a mock draft soon, within the next like week or so. So I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to put out a couple more videos on my YouTube channel. But yeah, mostly the USA Today stuff. And definitely after you listen to Jaguar, definitely pull us up on Believe. We're on Apple Podcasts and everything else, and it's really cool to kind of listen to an ex-player. So yeah, right after your podcast, listen to Believe, and that's where you can find me too. We're on every week, so.
All right, so check Laurie out on those channels there, Believe Podcast, and then USA Today, right? And then Draft Wire as well, doing articles there. All right. Well, we have some comments here. Andrew said, great, Andrew Matarakis, great job, guys. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for joining the stream. NFL, AZ Cardinals, Jags are my AFC team. Go Jags. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And Jersey Jaguar, Duval. Awesome. Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and check out the Jaguar podcast on Apple Podcast and everywhere you get podcast, as well as my YouTube channel. Subscribe if you like the content. Appreciate your support, and we will see you guys later.